Tonight, rapper Tory Lanez breaking his silence in his first ever broadcast interview from behind bars since being found guilty of shooting Grammy winner Megan Thee Stallion in the foot outside a party in 2020.
I've never been violent towards a woman. I would never hit a woman, let alone shoot a woman. There is definitely a very big misconception about me that seems to the public as I'm this monster. You can look at my criminal record. I don't have one. I never had one, and I feel like, that connotation that I would do anything of this monstrous proportion is completely incorrect and it's wrong.
3 years locked up, and Tory Lanez just broke his silence. In his first on-camera interview from behind bars, he told NBC News something that caught everyone off guard. This situation involves Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion, new evidence that allegedly wasn't presented at trial, and a legal battle that's far from over. Here's what actually went down, and this goes way deeper than what you saw on social media. Let me break down everything that happened. Let's start from the beginning. To understand where we're at today, you gotta know what happened back in July 2020. We're talking about Tory Lanez, a Canadian rapper who was making waves in the industry, and Megan Thee Stallion, one of the biggest names in hip-hop at the time.
Rapper Tory Lanez has been charged with shooting artist Megan Thee Stallion during an argument. The DA's office says Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, shot Megan's feet during an argument in the Hollywood Hills July 12th. The 28-year-old was arrested the night of the shooting, but was released after posting bail. He now faces 2 felony charges and is set to be arraigned Tuesday in LA. If convicted, he faces up to 23 years in prison.
On July 12, 2020, Megan and Tory were leaving a pool party at Kylie Jenner's house in the Hollywood Hills. According to what came out later, there was an argument in the SUV they were riding in. Megan's former best friend, Kelsey Harris, was also in the vehicle. Things escalated quick. Megan testified that she got out of the SUV, and that's when Tory allegedly fired at her feet. She ended up with fragments in both feet and had to get emergency surgery at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Here's the thing, though. Megan didn't immediately say who did it. A few days after the incident on July 15th, 2020, she posted on Instagram saying she had been injured but didn't name Tory. It wasn't until August 20th, 2020, about a month later, that she went on Instagram Live and directly said Tory was the one who did it.
Yes, this Tory shot me. You shot me. And you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and shit. I tried to keep the situation off the internet, but you dragging it.
The relationship between them before this, they were cool. They'd hung out, made music together, had mutual friends in the industry. Nobody saw this coming. When the news broke, it split the hip-hop community down the middle. Some people immediately believed Megan, while others questioned her story.
But today, she's in tears, reliving the moment she was shot in the foot.
I was really scared because I had never been shot at before.
In an exclusive interview, Megan tells Gayle King it happened as she was leaving a pool party at reality TV star Kylie Jenner's house.
There was an argument in the car?
It was an argument because I was ready to go and everybody else wasn't ready to go. I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. And all I hear is this man screaming. He said, dance, and he started shooting. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Social media went crazy with theories, and it got ugly fast. Tory got arrested that same night in July 2020 and was initially charged with carrying a concealed weapon. But as the investigation continued, more charges came. By October 8, 2020, the LA County District Attorney's Office hit him with felony assault with a semi-automatic firearm. A judge also put a protective order in place, telling Tory to stay at least 100 yards away from Megan. He violated that order the following summer.
LA County prosecutors have added a 3rd felony charge in their assault case against Lanez. He is now also facing a charge of negligent discharge of a firearm. That's on top of assault with a semi-automatic firearm and unregistered weapon.
But that's not even the craziest part. While all this was going on legally, both of them started addressing it in their music. In September 2020, Tory dropped an entire album called Daystar, where he basically said he didn't do it and questioned Megan's version of events. Megan responded with bars in her track, "Shots Fired." This wasn't just a legal case anymore. It turned into a full-blown public situation with millions watching watching every move. Fast forward to December 2022. The trial finally happened, and it was intense. Megan took the stand and gave 3 hours of testimony. She told the jury that after the argument in the SUV, she got out and started walking away. According to her testimony, that's when Tory yelled for her to dance and started firing at her feet.
Megan!
Sporting a bright purple pantsuit, rapper Megan Thee Stallion appeared calm and composed as she arrived to testify in a downtown LA courtroom. Once she took the stand, her demeanor changed as she described the fear and shock she felt on July 12, 2020. Cameras were not allowed inside the packed courtroom, where Megan, also known as Megan Pete, addressed the jury for the first time. She accused Lanez, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, of ordering her to dance before firing several rounds, hitting her feet.
She also testified that Tory offered her and Kelsey Harris $1 million each to keep quiet about what happened. The chief resident of orthopedic surgery at Cedars-Sinai walked jurors through x-rays showing the wounds and explained how doctors removed what bullet fragments they could during emergency surgery. A witness who saw the incident testified that he saw a very agitated man firing everywhere. Now here's where it gets interesting. Kelsey Harris, Megan's former best friend who was in the car that night, also testified. But her testimony was complicated. She had given a recorded statement to police where she sent texts to Megan's bodyguard 5 minutes after everything went down saying, "Help, Tory shot Meg, 911. But on the witness stand, she backed away from key parts of that statement. She said she didn't actually see Tory open fire and that she was operating under assumptions. Still, she said it was ridiculous for anyone to claim she was the shooter. Tory's defense team tried to flip the script. They argued this was a case about jealousy, that Megan and Kelsey got into it over Tory and other men. They said the DNA evidence linking Tory to the weapon didn't meet industry standards. They also claimed Megan lied about Tory being on parole, which she said was why he asked her not to go to the police. But here's what made this case even more complicated. Tory never testified. His lawyers didn't put him on the stand. That decision would come back to haunt him, and he said so himself now. The prosecution painted him as someone who reacted violently because his ego got bruised. The deputy district attorney called it an act of targeting women, saying Tory felt disrespected, and that's why he did it. On December 23, 2022, the jury came back with their verdict: guilty on all 3 charges: assault with a semi-automatic firearm, carrying a loaded unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. When the verdict was read, Tory's father jumped up in court, calling the prosecutors evil and wicked. The scene was chaotic. The sentencing came in August 2023. Judge David Hereford handed down 10 years in state prison. The maximum he could have gotten was 22 years and 8 months, but California's new laws meant judges had to impose the middle length unless there were serious aggravating circumstances. Megan didn't show up to the sentencing in person but submitted a written statement. In it, she said, "For once, the defendant must be forced to face the full consequences of his heinous actions and face justice." Prosecutors had pushed for a heavy sentence, arguing that after the incident, Tory launched a campaign to humiliate and re-traumatize Megan. They said he weaponized misinformation on social media to turn public opinion against her. The case sparked major conversations about how women, especially Black women, are treated when they report situations like this. Megan faced intense online harassment, with people questioning everything from her story to her character. Life behind bars hasn't been easy for Tory. He's currently locked up at California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo County, but he wasn't always there. In May 2025, something happened that could have ended everything. Tory was attacked at California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. Around 7:20 in the morning on May 12, 2025, another inmate went after him. According to posts from his verified Instagram account and statements from his father, Sunstar Peterson, Tory was stabbed 14 times. 7 to his back, 4 to his torso, 2 to the back of his head, and 1 to his face. Both of his lungs collapsed, and he was put on a breathing machine. His father held a press conference and said Tory was bleeding out and could barely breathe. Staff had to call for an airlift to get him to a hospital quickly enough. The situation was that serious. Tory spent time recovering in the hospital before being transferred to California Men's Colony for safety reasons. In his recent NBC News interview, Tory opened up about the mental toll all of this has taken. He said, "Truthfully, I've done my best to keep my head above water, but mentally I've gone through trauma that I sometimes struggle with." He also mentioned, "I never imagined myself dealing with things that I would have to deal with." But even after everything, the conviction, the time served, the attack, Tory hasn't backed down from saying he's innocent. And now he's got his legal team working on something new. Here's where things really popped off recently. In November 2024, California's 2nd District Court of Appeal denied Tory's first appeal. They said there was no ineffective assistance of counsel or prejudicial trial court error. That should have been the end of it, but Tory's legal team isn't done, and they're claiming they've found something that changes everything. His lawyer, Crystal Morgan, says she's discovered evidence that allegedly wasn't turned over during the 2022 trial. Here's how they say it went down. Megan Thee Stallion recently won a separate case, a defamation lawsuit against blogger Milagro Cooper, also known as Milagro Grams. Cooper's lawyer, Rhonda Dixon, was going through Megan's medical records as part of that civil case. Tory had given a deposition in that case, so Dixon was in contact with Crystal Morgan. Dixon allegedly alerted Morgan to a document that Tory's team says wasn't in the medical records they got during the criminal trial. According to Morgan, this document is a pathology report from Cedars-Sinai, dated July 14, 2020, just 2 days after the incident. The report apparently says that medical staff removed fragments, placed them in evidence bags, and gave them to a security guard at the hospital. The document doesn't list Megan's name directly, but it does match her date of birth. Morgan is now questioning where those evidence bags are and what happened to them. She told NBC News, "It's missing from our date-stamped official copy of evidence from the criminal trial," which is significant because this particular piece of paper says that they removed fragments and placed them in bags and gave them to a security guard that works at Cedars-Sinai. Now, this is when things get complicated legally. If prosecutors had this document and didn't turn it over to the defense, that could potentially be what's called a Brady violation. The Brady rule, established back in 1963, says prosecutors have to share any material or potentially favorable information with the defense. Morgan argues that if they'd had this information, they could have questioned the doctors differently when they were on the stand or presented a different theory to the jury. But legal experts are saying proving a Brady violation is extremely hard. NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris explained that Tory's team would have to prove not just that evidence was withheld, but that it was favorable to his defense, and that it could have changed the outcome of the trial. That's a very high bar to clear, and most attempts to overturn convictions this way don't succeed. Tory's team is planning to file a new appeal to the California Supreme Court. They're also doing something unusual. They're requesting either a pardon or clemency from California Governor Gavin Newsom. That's a long-shot move, but they're going for it anyway. On December 18, 2025, Tory sat down for his first on-camera interview from prison with NBC News. This was the first time the public was seeing him and hearing directly from him since the verdict came down in 2022. That interview just dropped a couple days ago, and he came out swinging with his claims. Tory told NBC, "I've never been violent towards a woman. I would never hit a woman, let alone shoot a woman." He went on to say, "There is definitely a very big misconception about me that seems to the public as I'm this monster. I feel like I was catapulted into this poster child for the unprotection of black women, and it's just so unlike me, and I've never really had a chance to express that. But you can look at my criminal record. I don't have one, I never had one." That last part is true. Before this case, Tory had no criminal record. He'd never been convicted of anything. He kept emphasizing that point, saying the way he's been painted doesn't match who he actually is or his history. When asked about his decision not to testify at trial, Tory said he regrets it. "I think if I would have taken the stand, the verdict would have definitely been very different." That's a major admission. His lawyers clearly advised him not to testify back then, but looking back, he feels it was a mistake. He believes jurors needed to hear directly from him. Tory also addressed the idea that he has hatred for Megan. He said, "There's this connotation that I share this hatred for her, but I don't. I'm genuinely past that. I'm at a place of healing in my life. I'm at a place of accountability for the things I did wrong. And when I talk about my case, I don't want it to be taken as me coming at her, because it's not that." When asked what he would say to Megan now, Tory said he wouldn't say anything directly right now. He said he'd prefer that conversation to happen in person, and that they've both been through a lot. He's trying to position himself as someone seeking fairness in the legal system, not as someone trying to attack Megan publicly. He told NBC, "I believe not only that I was wrongfully convicted, but the amount of new evidence that has emerged since that trial, I think, has been overwhelming. I'm just asking for somebody in the system to look at my case and look at the evidence and ask if this was fair." The interview dropped and immediately went viral. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everyone had an opinion. Some people sympathized with Tory's claims about new evidence. Others pointed out that a jury heard all the evidence presented at trial and found him guilty. The comment sections were divided, just like they've been since day one of this whole situation. Megan Thee Stallion and her legal team haven't stayed quiet through all this. Her lawyer, Alex Spiro, has been vocal about pushing back against broadcast what he calls misinformation. When Tory's team started talking about new witnesses and missing evidence, Spiro called it garbage spread by nonsense bloggers. Spiro released a statement saying Tory Lanez was tried and convicted by a jury of his peers, and his case was properly adjudicated through the court system. This is not a political matter. This is a case of a situation that was resolved in the court of law. Megan herself has spoken about the emotional toll this whole situation has taken on her. During the trial, she testified about how the incident and the public response affected her mental health. She said, "I can't hold conversations with people for a long time. I don't feel like I want to be on this earth. I wish he would have just ended me if I knew I would have to go through this torture." She sat down with Gayle King on CBS this morning and talked about her fears of getting police involved that night, her former friendship with Tory, and how the whole situation impacted her going forward. The scrutiny she faced was intense. People questioned why she didn't immediately say what happened, why she initially told police she stepped on glass, why this, why that. She's talked about how that level of questioning and doubt affected her. Megan also filed a lawsuit against blogger Milagro Grams, claiming the blogger spread falsehoods about her on social media on behalf of Tory. That case is what led to the medical records being reviewed, which is how Tory's team says they found the allegedly missing document. A jury found Grams liable on December 1st, 2024, initially awarding Megan $75,000. However, the judge later reduced the award and dismissed the defamation count specifically due to Florida's pre-suit notice requirements. Megan was ultimately awarded $59,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress and promotion of altered content, and Grams must also pay Megan's legal fees. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office hasn't responded to requests for comment about the allegations of a Brady violation. They're staying quiet for now, probably because they know any new appeal will have to be handled through the courts. This case has always been bigger than just Tory and Megan. The hip-hop community got involved from day one, and not always in positive ways. When the incident first happened, a lot of artists stayed silent, but some didn't. Drake caught heat for a line in one of his songs where he seemed to imply that Megan lied about being injured. Other rappers and industry figures took sides, some publicly, others more quietly. Radio stations had to decide whether to keep playing Tory's music or pull it. Streaming platforms made their own decisions. The situation turned personal quick, with people going toe-to-toe on social media. Fans of both artists clapped back at each other constantly. The hashtags were trending for months. It became one of those situations where you couldn't just be a casual observer. People felt like they had to pick a side. What made it even more complicated was the bigger conversation it sparked about how women in hip-hop are treated when they report situations like this. The term misogynoir got thrown around a lot. That specific type of treatment that black women face where racism and sexism intersect. Megan became a symbol for some people about believing women, while others questioned why she didn't go to police immediately, or why her story had inconsistencies. The case also put a spotlight on how social media can turn into a weapon during legal cases. Both sides had supporters spreading information, theories, and sometimes straight-up misinformation. It got to the point where Megan's team had to release actual evidence from the trial to counter false claims that were going viral online. Some artists and public figures who initially stayed quiet eventually spoke up. They talked about how the case made them think differently about believing victims, about the pressure women face not to involve police in situations, about a lot of things. The conversation went way beyond just what happened that night in July 2020. So, where are we at right now? As of December 2025, Tory Lanez is still locked up at California Men's Colony serving his 10-year sentence. He's been in custody since December 2022, so he's about 3 years into his sentence. With good behavior and other factors, he could potentially get out sooner, but that's not guaranteed. His legal team is preparing to file a new appeal to the California Supreme Court. That appeal will center on the allegedly missing medical evidence and the claim of a Brady violation. Legal experts are saying it's an uphill battle. The California Appeals Court already denied his first appeal in November 2024, finding no errors in the trial. Getting a higher court to overturn that and take another look is tough. They're also pursuing that pardon or clemency request to Governor Newsom. That's even more of a long shot. Governors rarely grant clemency in high-profile cases like this, especially when the conviction is recent and the person has only served a fraction of their sentence. But Tory's team is trying every angle they can. Keep your eyes on what happens with the California Supreme Court. If they agree to hear the case, that's when things could get really interesting. They'd have to review whether the alleged missing evidence constitutes a Brady violation and whether it could have changed the trial's outcome. That process could take months or even over a year. Megan, on the other hand, has been moving forward with her career and her life. She's in a relationship with NBA player Klay Thompson. They went public in July 2025 and bought a house together in October 2025. She's been working on new music and performing. She won that case against Milagro Grams. It seems like she's trying to put this chapter behind her, though the prison interview and new appeal attempts keep pulling it back into the spotlight. Word is, if Tory's appeal gets denied again, his team might try for federal appeals. They could argue constitutional violations or other federal issues. That's another long process that could drag this out for years. For now, neither one backing down from their positions. Tory maintains he's innocent and was wrongfully convicted. Megan's team maintains the jury got it right and justice was served. The hip-hop community is still watching. Every time there's an update, it trends on social media. People are still divided. Some think Tory deserves another chance to prove his innocence with this new evidence. Others think he's just trying to manipulate public opinion and the legal system. This whole situation shows you how the justice system really works when cameras are watching. From the moment this incident happened in July 2020 to right now in December 2025, it's been over 5 years of legal battles, public scrutiny, and divided opinions. What started as an argument after a party turned into something that's changing conversations about believing women, about how the industry handles these situations, and about whether justice was actually served. The case also shows how social media can become its own courtroom. Before the actual trial even happened, millions of people had already decided what they believed. Evidence was debated on Twitter. Theories spread on Instagram. TikTok videos broke down every detail. That pressure affected everyone involved. Megan faced harassment. Tory's career took a hit. Witnesses got pulled into the public eye. For Megan, this situation became about more than just what happened that night. It became about whether people would believe a black woman in hip-hop when she said she was hurt. The scrutiny she faced, the conspiracy theories, the attacks on her character, all of that highlighted bigger issues the industry has been dealing with for years. For Tory, it's about whether he'll spend the next 8 years in prison for something he says he didn't do. His claims about new evidence and his insistence on his innocence matter if they're true, but they also matter to the legal system's credibility. Did prosecutors really withhold evidence, or is this a desperate attempt to overturn a solid conviction? So that's where we're at with this whole situation. Tory Lanez is fighting for his freedom from behind bars, claiming new evidence proves he was wrongfully convicted. His legal team is preparing new appeals and asking Governor Newsom for clemency. Megan Thee Stallion's team is pushing back, saying the case was handled properly and justice was served. The hip-hop community remains split, and the court battle is far from over. Keep your eyes on what happens with the California Supreme Court appeal. That's the next major moment in this case. If they agree to review it, we could see this whole thing get reopened. If they deny it, Tory's running out of options quickly. This situation is bigger than just two artists. It's about how we handle these cases in the social media age, about believing people when they say they've been hurt, and about making sure the legal system works fairly for everyone involved. What started as an incident after a Hollywood Hills party has become one of the most talked about cases in hip-hop history. Let me know what you think about this whole situation in the comments. Do you think Tory deserves another trial based on this allegedly missing evidence? Or do you think the jury got it right the first time and he's just trying to work the system? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more coverage as this case develops, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. More updates coming as this develops. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.